Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. I, on behalf of Chaudhary Ranveer Singh University, Jind, Faculty of Commerce Management and Central Library, convey deep regard and heartily welcome to a lady with attitude, passion, energy, a smiling face, the resource person, Dr. Jeevan Jyoti. Dr. Jeevan Jyoti has rich experience of teaching and research in business education. Her area of interest are strategic human resource management, organization behavior, and entrepreneurship. She has received gold medal for first position in MCOM. She has also received Best Business Academic of the Year award in October 2010 and Manu Bhai Shah Memorial Research Award in December 2018 at All India Commerce Conference. 3 of her research papers have been awarded as the best paper in international conference. She is associated editor of International Journal of Business Study Review, published by Kohat University of Science and Technology, Kohat, Pakistan. Dr. Jeevan Jyoti has publication 48 in reputed national or international referred journals, 28 publication in Scopus listed journals like Journal of Business Research, Personal Review, etc. She has, to her credit, 3 edited books and 22 chapters in edited books. 6 of her scholars have been awarded PhD degree and 15 scholars have been awarded MPhil degree. She is a member of SAP Advisory Committee, Department of Commerce, University of Jammu. She is also chairperson of Sexual Harassment Committee, Maharaja Hari Singh Agriculture College, Collegiate School, Nagwani, Jammu, as well as chairman of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace of Maharaja Hari Singh DAB CENT Public School, Angkor. She has also been a member of Campus Cultural Committee, DSW, University of Jammu. She has attended many international and national conferences, well as capacity building workshop. She has also coordinated National Scholars Seminar and co-directed 2-week capacity building program for college and university teachers sponsored by ICSSR. She has conducted many workshops on how to write business plan. She has also chaired as well as co-chaired technical session during the international conference. She has also coordinated many departmental level events. She has been coordinator of 3 postgraduate diploma, Department of Commerce, University of Jammu during 2015-16. She has recently received a major research project granted 8,50,000 from ICSSR under Impress scheme of MHRT India. Madam is very rich knowledge and very
So
culture in Haryana and outside Haryana and abroad. At the end, I want again welcome everyone who presented online here and give their precious time. All, thank you very much. I request Dr. to start this session. इसमें बेकार चला यार मेरे बैठ गया था ना हेलो हाँ जी मैम ऑडिबल मैम आवाज आ रही है आपको मेरी
The PPTs are not visible, sir.
अच्छा पीपीटी
Yeah.
जस्ट
And the voice is also not clear. Please keep in mind that the voice sound is audible to
जस्ट
everyone.
यस मैम जस्ट 1 minute वेट मैम
अरे भेज दिया हम तो हम ही है ना मेला आई जहाँ
Due to some internet problem, so please wait 2 minutes. I just
बताएंगे ऐसे लिखना
शुरू हो गई है
कौन फटाफट में
कल चलो मैं कितनी हुआ
चल चल चलो चलो
हेलो नहीं अभी तो कुछ भी नहीं आ रहा है यहाँ पे मेरे को अपना फेस दिख रहा है, पर अब वो पिन वाला ऑप्शन आ रहा है जो यहाँ पे पहले वो बोल रहे थे ना। पिन तो किया मैंने, अब क्या करना है इसको? अब यहाँ पे हाँ, अब आ गया, अब दिख गया। ठीक है, शैल आई स्टार्ट? आवाज, क्योंकि आपकी आवाज क्लियर नहीं आ रही थी, मेरी आवाज आ रही है? हाय एवरीवन।
आपकी आवाज आ रही है? हाँ प्लीज यू स्टार्ट दिस सेशन।
बिकॉज आवाज थोड़ी क्लियर नहीं थी।
हाँ नहीं, ठीक है।
शैल आई स्टार्ट?
यस
माय वॉइस इज क्लियर?
यस।
Hello everyone, and a very good afternoon to the presenters. On the onset itself, I congratulate the organizers, especially Professor Sanjay Sinha ji, who invited me on this platform to interact with you on report writing. Please play the next slide. As far as when we talk about report writing, first thing we have to do is to talk.
Report writing.
And if we don't talk, we won't be able to know that how the things get sorted. As far as a report writing, we start with what is report writing. The thing to understand first is what is a report. A report basically is a very concise, short and a short document which is written particularly for a particular audience with some goals, objectives to arrive. It is not an imaginary document. It is based upon the facts, figures, and it must be well structured so that the readers have a clear view what the presenter wants to present to its readers.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Sorry to disturb you in between. Actually, somebody is having their mic on, and due to which your voice is creating echo. Can you please ask others to mute their mic, please?
I request everyone, please mute your voice, elsewise it won't be possible for everyone to listen carefully. Whosoever has a doubt can raise a hand and then switch on the mic. Please switch off your mics. I hope everyone...
Should we continue?
Yeah. Please, next slide. Now, if every project has some objectives, when we talk about report writing, it is also an objective. And as far as objectives are concerned, we have to understand that for what purpose the report is being undertaken. And in order to fulfill those purposes, we have to plan the report. We have to structure the report, and we have to collect the information which we want to pass on. You cannot pass on the information in a haphazard manner. You have to organize the information. When we talk about organizing the information, we have to put up each section in a very clear way. Especially this is very useful for the PhD students, because they must know that if the information is not presented effectively in a structured way and in appropriate style, there are chances that the reports will be rejected. Next. Now, when we talk about types of reports, there are laboratory reports, like we usually get in case of the health issues. There are technical reports, which are based upon technology. Then there are reports of workplace placement or industrial visit and the field trip. These are the general reports. But we are more concerned with next with the reports which we make in the research era. When we talk about research, I'm more concerned with that of the PhD and MPhil. And in that case, there are two types of the reports. The one is the thesis, which is a long work written though in a essay form, and it is presented for the award of the doctorate of the philosophy, that is PhD. Then we have the dissertation, which is not as elaborate as the thesis. It is also a long essay, but it is written. It is like one part of some academic diploma or university degree. Some universities usually ask you to prepare a project report for the post-graduation degree. And similar is the case for the Master of the Philosophy. Next, please. We come to the advantages of the report writing. As far as the advantages of report writing are concerned, I shall talk about the first thing is through report writing, we communicate. Whatever we have got, we have worked upon, we communicate through that report. And the communication is for solving some problems, disclosing the unknown information, the information which may not be known earlier. Sometimes the information is known, but we need to update that information. And that information has to be reliable and permanent information. And on the basis of this information, we do the decision making. Next. Next slide, please.
Wait, ma'am, just there are some technical problems.
I'll carry on. When we talk about, if you are not having a look at the PPT, I have divided this into the broader sections and the individual sections. The first section is known as the preliminary material. In that preliminary material, we talk about the title of the report, table of content, and summary or the synopsis. Whereas in the body of the report, we discuss introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, recommendations. Next slide, please. The participants won't be. Next slide. Next slide, please. As I was discussing with you people that the report is divided into the three components. And the first component, introduction, the first is the title. Title itself is very important opportunity to tell the potential reader what your research is about. For example, if the title is about impact of high performance work system on intention to leave a study of the telecommunication sector, so don't you think that the title is reflecting a very important information? Just one read at the title, one look at the title will give you an information that what the report is about. The format for the title page depends upon the discipline to whom you are presenting. The title page contains title of the dissertation, for example, job satisfaction among university teachers, a study of North India. The second thing that is there on the title page is a degree for which it is submitted, for example, PhD. Then the year of graduation, let's say 2020, student's name, I have written on the slide my name, Jeevan Jyoti. And the guide's name, that's Professor R.D. Sharma, my guide. Next slide, please. I'm way ahead of these slides. Next. Next slide, please. Yeah, this was the page I was talking to you people. And the second component is the declaration of the originality. Although I have written optional here, but nowadays UGC has made it mandatory that you are required to add this declaration to your report. And this basically lawfully declares that the piece is that of the researcher only. It has neither been copied from another source, nor fabricated, nor plagiarized. So especially to the PhD and MPhil scholars, they need to know that whenever they are signing such a document, they become legally responsible. And if any part of their research or report has been taken from certain other sources which are not honored in the report, it amounts to plagiarism and the scholar can be sued legally. So whenever you submit a declaration of the originality, please keep in mind that your work is originally yours, and wherever help you have taken from other sources, refer them, and then it will not amount to plagiarism. Write them in your own words. UGC is very clear about it, plagiarism issue. That's why this certificate is taken from all the scholars, whether it is MPhil scholar or the PhD scholar. Next, please. Next slide. The next portion of the report is the acknowledgement, because whenever we write some report, we take help of the people around us. Now we live in a global era and we take the help of people who are not living near to us. And in this section, we can thank those people who have helped us in this project. Those people can be from your family, friends, even the respondents who are the major part who are responsible for the report you are presenting. It can be your colleagues, it can be your fellow mates, subordinates, your mentors, your teachers, your professors, anybody whomsoever you want to thank has to be mentioned into the acknowledgement. I still remember when I wrote my acknowledgement for my PhD thesis, I wrote the name of my teacher who taught me in 6th standard, because I have been thankful to him till now. So anybody to whom you feel like thanking, you can mention here in this section. Next slide, please. Next comes the table of content. Table of content must appear as it is there in your thesis. Be very particular when you make the table of contents, because there is a format which you need to follow when designing your table of contents. The heading, the subheading, and the next subheading must be numbered in order to avoid the confusion. For example, if I have given a heading like number 5, analysis and discussion, the subheading will be 5.1, effect of job satisfaction. Now, if I want to go further subheading, I will have to number it 5.1.1, mean job satisfaction. This is how we number the contents. You need to number in order to avoid the confusion, and it helps the reader to reach the section very quickly. Otherwise, the reader will have to read whole of the section if you have not numbered the section. And we do not go beyond this numbering. 1, 1.1, 1.1.1. So there are 3 levels of the headings which we maintain, and there are certain institutions and certain journals, they look up at, they have a particular guidelines that how the main heading font, what will be the font of the main heading and what will be the font of the subheading. Usually the main heading is in the capital letters, whereas the subheading usually are in italics. So whenever you prepare the table of content, do get information from your agency that what format it wants you are supposed to write the things. So there will be no confusion. Next slide, please. Now, the next section is what we call abstract, summary, or preface. This is a must part of the report. A report, whether it is a research report or any kind of report, if you haven't written a summary, it will not tickle the reader to read it, because your reader may find maybe receiving 5 to 10 reports daily. It is this summary portion which tickles the reader to read further. In the thesis or in the dissertation, we usually write it in the preface. It is basically a summary of the report, what problem you are exposing, what is the purpose, what is the scope. When we talk about scope, the scopes are twofold. One is the scope of your industry. Another, to which area you cover. So you should be very specific about your scope and what research approach was undertaken. At this level, the reader should know whether the report is based upon the descriptive analysis or experimentation, or is it exploratory study? What approach was undertaken? Evaluative, predictive, or experimental? What we call the cause and effect. Basically, the abstracts give you the summary of whatever you have done in this report. Next slide, please. Now, the first section, very important section, that is the introduction. Now, in this chapter, the scholars are usually very confused what to write. Do they talk about the importance of the subject? Because if you don't write this chapter fully, you won't be able to introduce your research in a logical manner. The first thing in the introduction chapter is that you introduce the reader to the topic. For example, I talked about high performance work system. We are basically belonging to the social sciences, and most of the participants here will be from either from the business faculty and the sister faculties. They will be very much focused upon that the reader knows about the subject. As I talked about in the introduction of this topic, let's say that it is the high performance work system. You know, what is high performance work system and why it needs to be researched upon. I have recently worked upon a high performance work system, and in the introduction section, we introduce the readers that what is the high performance work system and why it is required. When we talk about the theoretical relevance talks about that is there any theoretical background on which this research report is based. I shall be talking up to you about high performance work system itself. When we worked upon the high performance work system, we based it on AMO theory. A stands for ability, M stands for motivation, O stands for the opportunity. So we discussed in detail the theories of high performance work system, whether it was AMO theory, whether it was conservation of the resources theory, because there were certain other portions also linked to the high performance work system, like the burnout, intention to leave. So you have to take up the theoretical background. It should be very sound. It reflects that the scholar knows the topic fully. If you do not talk about the theoretical relevance, it sends a message that the presenter does not know, does not have the idea of his own piece of work. I've given an example like factors influencing students' behavior in lecture theatres and suggests way to promote positive learning behavior among the students. So what you are doing, you are introducing the reader to the topic. And what are the theories which become a base of your research, and why your research needs to be taken up, why this research was taken up. The next chapter is the literature review. According to me, This is the most important chapter in a report, especially if the report is from the research point of view. This chapter describes that what has already been done in the area where you are working. And not only this, but the closely related areas also. When we were working upon the high performance work system, there was another variable known as the mentoring. And we were just evaluating the relationship between high performance work system and work intensity, and how this relationship is facilitated by mentoring. We didn't get any literature. So what we did, we searched into the leadership literature, which helped us a lot. And for the information of the participants, that paper has been published in Journal of Business Research last year. Now, in order to support our arguments, we have to.
मैम स्क्रीन पे नहीं आ रहा पीपीटी, कृपया स्क्रीन पे शेयर करें.
I'm sorry, madam, that is with the organizers. The screen.
मैम आपको स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रहा है? मैम आपको स्क्रीन शेयर हो रहा है?
No, sir. Screen is not being shared.
Please wait.
What I'm trying to say that when you do the literature review, it is not, or you don't have only to review only the related area. You have to review the sister areas also. As I told you that we were working upon high performance work system and its impact upon work intensity. And there was a third variable known as mentoring. We did not get any literature in high performance work system and mentoring. So we searched the leadership literature, which helped us a lot in order to justify the background for setting this relationship. So when you do the literature review, you have to refer to the closely related areas and you have to identify the gap. Because if you do not identify the gap, what will happen? You will not be able to write that this is the original piece of work and it has been conducted on the basis of the research gap identified. And in this portion itself, you have to explain that how you plan to address the research gap. When we review the literature, there are many research gaps which may come handy, but you have to be very sure about that you plug the holes in a very systematic manner. And those plugged holes should be reflected in a very model-shaped way. Because when you review the literature, one block will be here, one block will be there, one block will be there. Know how you are going to join the blocks so that it becomes a logical model. That is what I'm saying, that explain how you plan to address that research gap. Usually when we review the literature, for example, we review the papers on high performance work system and work intensity. The gap was there that more moderator in this relationship should be evaluated. Those moderator, we focused upon the mentoring. But in order to justify it, we again went brought to the sister literature of the leadership. So you have to be very clear that how you are going to arrange those blocks, because PhD is a detailed research work, and I advise everyone who are the research scholars that please take up such work which is detailed upon and which tells the reader that what is the sequence of plugging the research gap. Next slide, please. When we talk about the literature review, we have to take in the context, that in which context we are reviewing the literature. Is it the theoretical context? Is it the practical context? Or is it the social context or the political context? Now the thing is that you have to remember one thing when you write the report, and how do you write the purpose? Always remember that we do not write in past tense. We write in present tense, present perfect tense. Whenever you read good journals, good papers, they write in the present tense, because you have to connect with the reader. If it is in the past tense, the reader feels that it has already happened. So present your language into present tense or present perfect tense. Next slide. And the next is the methodology section. In the methodology section, whatever the review of literature has generated certain gaps, certain research questions. In order to plug those research questions, in order to address those research questions, what was the methodology undertaken to complete that research? In the methodology section, we have to be very clear that what was the research design. Was it exploratory? I hope you know about the exploratory research, which is knowledge-based, where we don't have knowledge about the concepts and we just explore the concepts. Qualitative research is very much exploratory research in nature. Or the descriptive research, the usual surveys you read in the newspapers about the ratio of male to female, literate to illiterate. Those are very descriptive research. Evaluative research and the experimental research, they are to a great extent the same. That what is the cause and effect relationship. And the predictive research is a step ahead, that what should be done. So you have to understand that what type of research design was undertaken in order to address the research questions. Next comes the section of generation of research instruments, because you procure the information. Now, how that information was procured? Was it procured in a structured manner? For example, when you procure the responses on the Likert scale, they are very much in the structured manner. In the semi-structured way, you ask the question and the respondent writes whatever he feels like. Whereas in unstructured instrument, it is usually in case of the interviews, they are very situational in nature. The next thing that we focus upon the methodology section is the type of data. You need to procure information, how it was procured. Did you contact the respondent personally? Then it becomes you go to the field and procure the information. It is primary in nature. Whereas, if you procure the information from the journals, from the reports, statistical reports, or from certain databases, it is called the secondary information. For example, most of the research on capital markets is done on the basis of the secondary data, which is procured from the databases. They are on the payment basis. Now, another section under the methodology you need to delve upon is how the data was collected or generated. There are different ways in which the data can be collected. You can interview the participant. You can pass on the research instrument to the participant, which is known as a questionnaire. In a questionnaire, you don't impress upon the participant to reply the questions. The questionnaire is passed upon, instrument is passed upon to him, and he replies the question in a private way. Whereas in schedule, the researcher asks the question and marks the answer given by the respondent. In certain cases, direct contact is not made with the participant, only observation is done. Most of the psychological studies, psychology-based studies, they are observation-based studies. Another thing which we have to focus upon, or we have to pass the information, that how the data was analyzed. Was it qualitatively analyzed? When we talk about the qualitative, where we record the interviews, where the information generated was not structured in way, so we just qualitatively analyze upon the basis of the themes that emerge from the interviews. Whereas in case of quantitative, the information is in form of numbers with us. And we can very well apply the parametric techniques. For example, we can use a t-test, we can use the correlation f-test, and non-parametric test where the data was not normal. We can use the chi-square. So you have to describe that how you conducted your research. The methodology section has to be very transparent. You shouldn't hide anything. In this section, you also have to discuss that how many visits were paid to the respondents. If there was poor response rate, why that response rate was poor. And this section also discusses about the limitations of the research. And usually this section is written after the analysis part has been finished. Your field work is finished, your laboratory work is finished, you are done with the analysis, and then you sit down and write that how you conducted the research. The next chapter is the result section. Now in this section, whatever technique we used to analyze, and that outcome of that technique is displayed. Here we describe the results. For example, if I am saying that high performance, if I am hypothesizing that high performance work system affects the work intensity, and I applied regression or structural question and model. What was the outcome of that? If the outcome of that says that the relationship is significant, the beta value is 0.76 and the p-value is less than 0.01. So we have to display these results. In the result section, we have to number. We have to show the number. We have to focus upon the number. We don't discuss them. We don't delve upon in detail because that part is taken in the discussion section. In this section, result section, we present that what we observed or what we discovered. So we present only the results because it is not the place for the discussion. Next slide, please. So when we display the results, there are certain things we need to focus upon. First is focus upon the key results, because when we are doing the research, there are certain connected results also, but we have to focus upon the key results. We have very clear about the results. For example, if my relationship is insignificant, I have to be very clear that what is the value. If I've applied regression, what is the beta value? If I'm saying that the relationship is insignificant, what is the beta value? What is the p-value? For the insignificant result, the p-value should be greater than 0.05. Your facts and figures should talk. You should be very much careful that you do not omit anything. You have to simplify it for the readers. For example, if I say that 75% of the participants were able to understand, presenting the result in percentage form is better than that saying then that 150 out of 200. Simply saying that the 75% understood the result. And moreover, you have to describe your results. Next slide, please. Discussion section. This is very important section, because whatever results you communicated in the results section, you have to interpret and explain there. You have to give that big why. You have to explain that big why. Why is that so? I still remember when I was doing my PhD, usually earlier results were saying that job satisfaction and age are related in U shape. This way is the relationship between job satisfaction and age. But in my case, that relationship was very much cyclical in nature. So in discussion section, you need to explain that why there is difference in earlier results and your results. That why needs to be answered here. If your study is similar to the earlier studies, you can take the why portion, defend your research on the basis of the earlier. But if your results are not in consonance, are not in harmony with the earlier results, you need to explain the reasons behind it. I can give a very good example about it, that most of the research paper talk about that a satisfied employee is a productive employee. But in public sector, employees are satisfied, but they are not productive. So in that case, the research which I am talking about, it gave a justification that in public sector, the employees have the job security. So they are very much satisfied, but they are not eager to be productive. So the discussion section, you have to explain what is the rationale for the results you exhibited in the previous section. Next slide, please. Next is the conclusion section. This section is very much short. It is not mere summary of your research, but it needs to address the main points that emerge from the research and how they align to the field of the research. Conclusions are always small, but they reflect a lot. We so many times, when we read a paper, we hurriedly go through the things and read the conclusion. So they have to be concise, but they have to be very explanative. Next slide. Recommendations. This is the most important part, what we call as the implication section. Every research, every report should culminate into kind of certain suggestions, strategic suggestions, implications. Now, these implications have to be very focused. You have to reflect upon what kind of implications you are recommending to the academic world, to the practical world, to the social world. I shall be discussing with you this into the paper publication section. But here I also want to delve upon, because from these reports only we write the good papers. If I say that what are the theoretical recommendations? Theoretical recommendations are for the literary world, for the academic world. Now in this, we look up at what is our contribution to the knowledge domain. So usually here we explain the unexplored areas, the gaps which we plugged. As far as the practical recommendation, these recommendations are for the corporate world or your target industry or the sector. I have been discussing with you the high performance work system. We conducted this study in the IT sector. So when we wrote the recommendation, we wrote the recommendation particularly for the IT sector and general recommendation for the journal purpose. And we also wrote the social recommendation, how this study can be helpful for the society. Certain reports combine the socio-economic implications, which talk about that how this study will enhance the standard of living of the society and empower them more economically. So every report may not convert into the socio-economic implications, but I still recommend that this is the section a researcher must focus, because recommendations are outcome of your result. So a reader wants to say that what are you recommending to be undertaken on the basis of your results, what I call the predictive research design. We combine various research design in order to write a PhD thesis. Next slide, please. Now, another major section is the references. Whenever you cite information from another source, you must honor the source in your references. In the text, it is written in the bracket, whereas in the reference, it is reflected in a detailed manner. There are different ways to refer the work, and the common among them is APA styling, that is a style given by American Psychological Association, and most of the social science journals opt for the APA style of the referencing. If you will log in the net and type the APA style, you will come to know that in this style, how you refer the book, how you refer a journal, how you refer an online journal. So I have given the example of only journals. Another popular style is the Harvard style, and then there is a Oxford style. So you have to determine that which styling does the agency to whom the report is to be submitted follows. If you are submitting the report for the fulfillment of the PhD degree, please get the help of the research wing section of your university. We usually have a published document about it, that what will be the structure, what will be the referencing style to be followed in the report. Next slide. Well, this is the, I think I'm on the last few sections. Appendices. This is the, appendices means which is joined, in addition, which is supplementary in nature. So anything which you are not able to reflect into the main report, but you feel like that this material needs to be referred when we are talking about this report, you can refer it in this section known as the appendices. Now, in this appendices, in a particular research report, we attach the complex tables or the data, or the transcription of the interviews, or the research instrument questionnaire, or the schedule used to collect the information, or large table of the data. At present, UGC has made it mandatory for the PhD scholars to publish a paper from their research work. The published work can be given in the appendices section, and wherever your thesis goes for evaluation, that person can very well appraise that how you have utilized your research. So these are the certain sections of the report which I have discussed with you, starting from the title page, introduction section, then to the review of literature, then to the methodology section, then to the results section, discussion, and recommendations. And lastly, the appendices. Now I shall be discussing with you the mechanics of writing a report, that how the layout should be there. In the layout, the first thing is that we look up at is the size and physical design. The paper on which the report is to be printed should be of the standard size. If it is to be written, handwritten, the ink should be only black or blue. The margin should be 1 inch on all the sides and ½ inch more for the gutter position. For the header and footer, 1 inches from the side space should be left. Then we come to the layout. There are various ways in which the report is laid out. It is better to take the help of the guide in this case or a particular problem. Next is the treatment of the quotations. For example, if you have quoted or defined, please put up the double inverted commas for the quotations. It means that you have reflected this material as given by the original authors. Then the footnotes. Footnotes basically are given in order to explain in detail anything which cannot be explained in detail into the text portion. So you just mark the asterisk and explain it in the page in the footnotes. Then documentation style. In the documentation style, it is very much relevant that how do we refer the other work. In that case, you have to give the author's name, the date of publication, title of the work, name of journal, volume number, issue number, page number. For example, if my work is published, this work which I have given into the slide, this is published in IIM Management Review. So how I documented? Jyoti, comma, J, full stop, bracket 2020 year. And then the title of my publication, then the title of the journal, then the volume, issue number and pages. Another thing we have to be very particular is the abbreviations. Whatever abbreviations you use, please explain it. And it is mandatory for the PhD scholars and MPhil scholars to attach the abbreviation page in the along with the preface section. Then the statistics, charts and graphs. Whatever statistics you present, it should be self-explanatory and complete in itself. No chart, no statistics, no graph should be incomplete. The charts should be properly labeled. Graphs should be properly explained. And after going all this through, we have to write the final draft. In the final draft, we look up at, are the sentences written in the clear way? Are they grammatically correct? Do they say what is meant? Do the various points incorporated in the report fit logically? So on the basis of these questions, we design the final draft. When the final draft is ready, we also look up at the bibliography. It is the list of writings with time and place of publication, which you have referred into the report, as well as which were related but you didn't refer. So bibliography usually helps the future researchers in searching the related literature. After that comes the preparation of the index in the last. At the end of the report, an index should be prepared because it acts as a good guide to the reader. Whatever he wants to search, he can just go to the index, go through it and search and the particular page. We have 3 types of indexes in the report: author index, subject index, and content index. In author index, we usually write the name of the authors. Subject, we create a subject by the sub-subjects in our report. And content, we go alphabetically. I think with this, my presentation is finished. Now, I would like to take the questions from the participants. I hope I have been able to disseminate the knowledge about how to write a perfect report. So the house is open for the discussion. Any question? Any question, please? Whoso have any question can unmute the mic. Content part of I'm reading certain, there is a flash that
Okay.
with the content part of the index. Index here, which in report I am talking about, is not the table index of the contents which we start from the beginning. In the beginning, the content page is different. That index section is about your report. That forms the part of your report, which I explained in the initial part of the slide. Which comprises about the title of the report, this introduction, body of the report, introduction, literature review, methodology, result, discussion, conclusion, and recommendation. Whereas when we talk about the index section for the last portion of the report, in that we generate the index by the author and by the content and by the subject. There is people are asking for this presentation. I have already passed on the presentation to the organizers. Please put up a request with the organizer. They will pass on the information to you people. I'm highly thankful to everyone. I think I shall now start the next session, which is basically the quality paper publications. Organizer, please upload the PPT because my participants won't be able to understand. Please upload the next PPT. Please upload the PPT. Suresh Kumar, he is asking about in which section we frame the hypothesis. It depends upon your institution or the format you are following. In the review of literature, we write in the end the gap. In that section, we write the research questions and then we generate the hypothesis.
मैम एक्सक्यूज मी, सेकंड पीपीटी ओपन करना ना.
Next presentation on the paper writing.
Okay, okay.
आवाज तो कम बंद तो है.
As far as this Sudha Panwar, she is asking about the length of the report. The length of the report depends upon how much time has been given to you to write the report. When we get the research proposal for 6 months, in that case, the report is written for only 3,000 words. Whereas the elaborate report can go beyond the 9,000 or 10,000, that to only the analysis part. संजय सर, हम शुरू कर दें नेक्स्ट प्रेजेंटेशन.
मैडम.
Yes, ma'am.
But your PPTs are not on it. Last उसमें भी PPTs नहीं आई हैं. And your participants are time and again asking for the PPTs.
PPT, your PPT is issued in making research proposal to various funding agency.
No, PPT अभी आएगा क्वालिटी पेपर पब्लिकेशन का.
Okay.
Yeah, hypothesis, Sudha, hypotheses are very necessary if you are pursuing the PhD. Because without hypothesis, what you will be testing? Hypothesis writing and testing is very important if you are pursuing the PhD report.
Ma'am, please, to be continue.
Your PPT is not still there, and shall I continue? Because
Okay, ma'am.
PPTs are not visible here.
Ma'am, it's visible.
Shall I start? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. They are not visible to me, but they are visible to you people. Good. So the next session will be upon the paper presentation, paper publication. In that case, I shall be coming with the another slide, because that slide is not visible to me, and I'll open my own slide. Hope We are in consonance with each other. So look up at the third slide. It talks about the process of moving from idea to published manuscript can be daunting. And look up how the lady has got her head. We sometimes have everything, but we don't know how to write it, how to publish it. Papers get rejected. Before I play my PPTs, because it has been my own experience that your writing skills should be perfect if you want to write a paper. So if you want to write a paper, first of all, create a team. Be very particular about it. Is it going to be a solo venture or a team venture? In that case, you, first of all, if it is going to be a team venture, you have to be very clear about who are the authors. Because when you submit the paper, they time and again say that, have you named all the authors? Not only naming the authors, what is the order of authors? And what should be the estimated contribution of each individual in the paper publication? So, whenever you are working in a team, and nowadays, paper publication has to be a teamwork because it requires writing skill, it requires the analytical skills, it requires the predictive skills. So a team, if it has the members who can do their job well, we shall come together and in order to create a good piece of work. And that can be done only if in the initial phase it itself, you decide upon that who shall be the authors. If it is not clear, then it will be very difficult to determine that who is going to be the first author, who is going to be the corresponding author. So in the initial stage in itself, you have to be very clear about it, that who are going to be the authors, what is going to be the sequencing of the authors, who will be the corresponding author, who will be the first author. As far as the PhD scholars are concerned, the usual practice is that if a paper is written by a group of people and the author is given the guide is given the first author, the scholar becomes the corresponding author, because we learn how to carry on the research by corresponding, agreeing to correspond. We learn to do the same in the future. If we hesitate at this time, we won't be able to conduct the research individually later in the later period. So the first thing to ponder upon is that who are going to the people who are going to contribute to the paper writing and what will be their responsibilities. Usually what we do, we divide the paper into 4 or 5 sections and we divide our work into different parts. For example, one author is given the responsibility of writing the intro section, whose writing skills are particularly very good. Another one carries on with the work of the methodology section and the results section. And another person can write the recommendation and discussion section. So when the paper gets divided into different sections, it becomes easy for the authors also to do the quality oriented writing, whether it is the intro section or it is the methodology section or it is the this recommendation and this implication section. Please change the slide. The next thing is that start writing before the experiments are complete. Why? Because when you start writing, the new ideas can be realized. It can happen not only this way, it can happen in another way also. So we don't have to be very rigid when we are writing a paper for publication. For example, in this slide, there are 3 relationships, but there is on one relationship, I have put up a question mark. The relationship between minutes of phone usage before sleep with the hours of sleep is negative. It means the more we use the phone, the lesser we will sleep. So this relationship is very clear. But the relationship between natural variation in sleep and hours of sleep is not clear. So we have to ponder upon. So before the experiment completes and then we start writing, we will not be able to make any additions and deletions. So you start writing before the experiments are complete. Next slide, please. Sir, the slides are not showing. Please show the slides. I don't know whether they are not clear on my desktop. Now, when you have agreed upon the authors, when you have started time, then comes the time to publish. We can publish only when the story is complete. The question mark which was there on the previous slide, when it vanishes and we have a clear picture and we have already written the story and we are sure that this piece of project can make a significant contribution, only then the time is right to publish. Simply collecting a given amount of data is not adequate. Your papers will be rejected from the editor's desk. I don't know whether you know it or not, but 95%, near about, I think 70% papers are returned back from the editor desk because the paper written is not complete. When the paper is not complete, it will be returned. So when the story is complete, the next thing you do, you draft a title and abstract. In this part, we define the contents of the paper. For example, what was the purpose, what was the methodology used, what were the findings, originality, contributions, limitations. We all write it into the abstract. Especially there are certain journals which accept the abstract in a very structured form. Especially the Emerald publishers. You submit your paper to the Emerald publishers. They always ask for the structured abstract because Structured abstract is more focused. The purpose becomes clear. The methodology becomes clear in very few lines. Usually an abstract is of 300 words. So we devote about 100 to 150 words to each section to describe it. And if we send a paper without the abstract, the possibility is that it will return back 100%. So you have to draft the abstract, and it is mandatory that you draft a title and abstract. Drafting of title is very important. Sometimes it so happens that the titles become very repetitive. If you look up at my papers, which are published in last 4-5 years, I found that I'm writing, like my paper is that impact of high performance work system on intention to live, a moderated mediation model, or empirical evidences of moderation and mediation between high performance work system and intention to live. So I found that it is very repetitive. So the last paper we wrote, we were working upon the hybrid HRM. So when we were thinking about the title and we wanted to make it catchy, so what we did, the relationship was between the hybrid human resource management and job performance. And we've had two middle variables in that. One was the, I think, ambidextrous learning, another was the age. So when we were thinking about, the paper was complete and we were thinking about that how we should title the paper. I found that we have been talking about the mediation model, the structure model, the moderated mediation model a lot. So we wanted to just do something noble kind for the title of the paper. So the title which we gave to that paper was Hybrid HRM and Job Performance Relationship through the lens of ambidextrous learning and age. So just putting through the lens of. So the title becomes attractive. But make sure that don't involve yourself too much in making the title attractive and the content is zero. First focus is always upon the content, but the title shall also be attractive. Next slide, please. So the next portion is the format of the paper. There are 3 basic formats of peer-reviewed research articles. One is the full-length research article. It contains complete investigation of the subject matter, and there is a standard format known as IMRAD, Introduction, Methods, Result and Discussion. The full-length papers or the research articles which usually are published in good journals, the number of words or the word count is between 7,000 to 9,000 words. But here also, if I say that if your word count is more, you can do one thing, that you can create a supplementary file in order to avoid the desk rejections on the basis of the number of words recommended by the journal. See, whatever portion can be given in a supplementary file, there's always a provision for the supplementary file in the journal submission page, upload page. So you can add that material into the supplementary file. Then we have the short communications. These are the articles whose length is not more than 3,000 to 3,500 words. And in these papers, usually the sections are clubbed. Result, discussion, conclusion, recommendation are clubbed together. Then we have another format, that is the quick communications. These communications or the writings, they focus upon the very recent happenings, usually in health sector. These are very quick communications. For example, nowadays we are publishing a lot of, getting a lot of offers for the publication regarding the COVID-19. Lot of these webinars are being conducted. Lot of new issues are coming upon the COVID-19. So in the format section, we have the full-length papers, we have the short communications, and the rapid communications. So you have to look up at that in which type does your paper fit. When you have written the complete story, when you have agreed upon the title of the paper, you have written the abstract of the paper, and you know whether it is a long research paper or a short or a rapid communication, you need to select a journal. When you are selecting a journal, there are different aspects which you should focus upon. The first thing you look up at, that there should be a congruence. Congruence means mutuality. Mutuality between the scope of the journal and that of your paper. So for that purpose, you have to look up at those journals which are of your stream. For example, a botany professor will not be sending his paper to a zoological journal. He will always look up the journals which are focusing upon the plants. And similarly, a researcher or professor from the industry, business, commerce, and management will look up for a journal which is focusing upon either journal business issues. We have like JBR, Journal of Business Research. It is a multi-dimensional journal. It takes a paper from the marketing, journal business, human resource management, financial management. Such journals, they address all kind of issues. But Postal Review is a umbrella journal, and it is very much focused to the issues of the human resources in an organization. Another journal like International Journal of Bank Marketing, IJBM. So it focuses upon the marketing papers in the banking sector. So whenever you are selecting a journal, try to find the congruence between your paper and the scope of the journal. If there is no congruence, even in this position, your paper will be returned from the editor desk. And good journals, they just focus upon that the paper passes the initial review. That initial review is from the editor's desk. If the editor does not find a goal congruence between the scope of the journal and that of the paper submitted, the paper will be rejected. So selection of the journal is very important. And of all the things, select the journals which is peer reviewed, because peer reviewed journals, they give you suggestions to improve your paper. I still remember when I wrote my first paper, my guide, Professor R.D. Sharma, submitted that paper to Arm Management Review. And I never knew that this is a very a good journal, Indian journal. It's published by Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. No, because the journal was of the peer review, they guided me how to write the paper. My paper was on job satisfaction among school teachers. So my first review that came, they said that your paper is upon the teachers. Please write your intro section on the teachers. So they improved my paper in steps. I revised that paper 3 times. And it is still, you can see that paper into their 2006 issues. I think second issue, it was published. But that was my first paper. And the reviewer, I'm thankful to those reviewers who helped me a lot in improving the paper. So whenever you select a journal, select only that journal which is peer reviewed, blind peer reviewed. And nowadays it is mandatory because UGC has provided a list of journals. There are 3 types of lists. The first A list comprises of Scopus listed and Web of Science listed journals. And then there is a B list, which usually comprises about the Indian journals which are peer reviewed. So if you are India based, please take in account that your journal is either the journal you are selecting is Scopus listed or UGC listed and is peer reviewed, because even for the API score calculations, your marks gets augmented by these things, whether it is peer reviewed, whether it is Scopus listed, does it have the impact factor? So you have to ponder upon these aspects when you are searching for the journal. Next slide, please. Another thing when we talk about in the paper publication is that in which language to write the. So usually English has become a dominant form for the international scientific communication. But usually what happens, papers are also rejected even after the first review and second review because the quality of the language is not good. So I recommend that if your hand is not good in English and the journal to whom you are submitting, please get your paper language edited by the professional editor, get a certificate of the same and attach it into along with the cover page in the submission section. All good journals have their manuscript center, and in the starting itself, after giving your details, there is a section called the cover letter. In the cover letter, you can write to the editor that this paper has been edited for the language by the language expert, and the certificate of the same is attached. So you will be saved from a lot of harassment as far as the grammatical mistakes and typo mistakes are concerned. I recommend highly that before submitting the paper, go again and again check for the language editing. If your English is poor or not up to mark, please get your paper edited. There are professional agencies also, and I recommend there are so many Indian agencies which cost much lesser than the foreign agencies. So select a good agency and get your paper proofread by the expert and get a certificate for the same. Next slide, please. Then we look up at that what is the focus of the journal. I have already talked about that the congruence has to be there. What is the orientation of the journal? Is it publishing the clinical, basic, theoretical or applied paper? Another thing we have to look up at when we select a journal is the indexing. Nowadays, indexing matters a lot. Whether the journal is Scopus listed, Web of Science listed. If you go to the Clarivate site, you can get all the lists. There is a Social Science Citation Index, SSCI, Science Citation Index, and Emerging Citation Index. So Web of Science people have 3 types of indexing. So just look up at the journals which are there in the indexing. It will help you a lot. If you get your paper published in a non-indexed journal, what will happen? Those people will publish your paper, but you will not get any recognition for that. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. We are talking about the reputation. Reputation is about that of the editorial board. Do checking for who are the people on the editorial board and what is the impact factor of the journals. Also check up in which format the figures and tables are demanded by the journal. What is the resolution? And last but not least, when I am talking about journal, what are the charges? This is very important. Good publishers don't ask you for the charges. I have been into this profession for the last 16 years and I have not paid any single penny for my publications. So nowadays the open access journals have come, but they don't ask you for the publication charges in the beginning itself. You have the liberty to choose the open access or only hard copies. What I usually do, I don't go for the open access because nowadays we have a lot of platforms where we can share the e-copies of our journals, of our publications. For example, I share my paper on the ResearchGate. I share my paper on the Academia Edu. I share my papers through the mails to my all the links on the mail. Whenever today one of my book has been released. The title is Sustainable Business Practices for Rural Development, Role of Intellectual Capital. The first thing I did was to share it on Twitter. I shared it on Facebook. I shared it on ResearchGate. I've already started getting the requests that please share your paper. So I can privately share my work with them. So we don't require to pay. But if you are working upon some through the grants, so there you have the publication funds also. In that case, we have some hybrid journals. When your paper is accepted for publication, only then they ask you whether you want to publish through the open access or through the closed. In that case, if you have the funds, you can go by the open access. But I still feel that you should go by the close and you can later on share the papers. because all the journals removed their bar of sharing publicly after 2 years. Emerald have a bar of 1 year, Sage has a bar of 1 year, and InterSense I think has a bar of 6 months. And after that, you can openly share your paper yourselves. We have the access to the online platforms nowadays, a lot of access. So that's not the issue. So I don't recommend that you spend money on publishing your paper. There are certain journals which talk about the processing charges. I think you look up at your pocket, but till date, I have not paid even a single penny to get my papers published. They get published on the basis of the knowledge, the quality, and the recommendations, the implications, the suggestions. What is the contribution? Next slide, please. So once you have decided on a journal, obtain it, read the journal instruction to the authors. All journals have these instructions for the authors. In that, they also describe what should be the format of the paper, what should be the referencing style, what should be the length of the paper. So when the journal has been decided, next slide, please. When the journal is decided, look up at what is the format of the journal, how the heading has to be placed, what is the font size, what is the length, what should be the length of the paper, and accordingly format your paper. For that, stock the sections of your paper. Store your paper into different folders. For example, introduction, method, result, discussion. This will save a lot of time. Next slide, please. Construct the tables, figure, and legends. So you have to according to the journal guidelines, there are certain journals which write the legend at the bottom of the table. But usual practice is that the legends are written on the top of the table, and for the figures, it is written on the bottom of the figures. So accordingly, you design the tables, figures, and write the legends. And I recommend here, please do not repeat any of your earlier published work in this section, because nowadays there are a lot of softwares, and it will be your own work will be known as a self-plagiarism. So when all is done, next slide please, outline the paper on the basis of the guidelines of the journals, and it should be very direct and logical. And in this section, the stock section will help you to fill the blocks in the outline section. Next slide. So now we are writing the paper. After so many such a discussion, we are writing the first draft of the paper, assigning them, and we are starting to write the paper. Next slide, please. You need to revise the manuscript. And first is to make major alterations. Whatever the gaps are there, correct them, restructure the document, refine it, check the grammar again and again, format the document to make it attractive and easy to read. Next slide. I still remember in 2015 we submitted a paper to International Journal of Educational Management, and the comments that we received was that the language of the paper is very difficult, So please make the changes in the language so that it is easy for the readers to understand it. So what we did, we went through the paper again and we just deleted the difficult words, and in its place we wrote the easy to understand language. So this portion is very important when we talk about restructuring, revisiting, polishing, formatting the document. The next thing is check the references. We have to be very sure that the authors whose work we have used, we refer them in the text and we honor them in the reference section. Elsewise, it will amount to plagiarism, because even if the standard, they say that 50 words can be picked up, but I will not recommend you to cite any author as please write it in your own language and then honor the author whose work you have referred. And after checking all, write the final title and the abstract. Revisit again and again. Reread the journal's instructions. Prepare the final manuscript. In this section, please be very careful about the tables, figures, legends. They should be very clear and they should be self-explanatory. And under each and every table, write down the source. If it is made by you on basis of your own data, write author's own. Elsewise, if it has been copied from somebody's, please honor them so that there is no misunderstanding. Next, last in this section, but not the least, is getting the feedback from your, before submitting the paper to the journal. Get the feedback. You know, from whom do you get the feedback? Nobody has the time to read your paper. So feedback you usually get from the people around you, your fellow colleagues. Ask them to read the paper. Please tell me what is the gap in this paper. Please highlight the gap. Please highlight any grammatical mistake, any errors, or anywhere you find. So you read, get it read, get the feedback, again improve. Paper publication requires you going through again and again and again. It takes us near about 6 months to write a paper. It takes usually 2 months to write a draft and 4 months to polish that. So this section is very important. Sometimes we feel that our paper is complete in all respects. But when we give it to somebody for the feedback, he will show 100 errors in your paper. So getting the feedback is very important if you want to publish in the quality journals. Next slide, please. And now comes the submission. Submit the manuscript to the editor. There are certain journals which want pre-review before the submission. They ask that mail the article to the editor to determine whether this will be accepted for the full review or not. So the journals which have a pre-review policy, please send the paper to the editor so that it can be recommended for the full review. Next slide. Now, how to deal with the reviewer comments. Very, very difficult task. And usually the reviewer comments are not very good in the first instance. Papers have an acceptance rate of 3%. Good journals have an acceptance rate of 3% only. So they are rejecting 97% papers. So if you feel that your paper has gone for the full review, I think you are very fortunate. And wait for the comments. Don't get disheartened if the comments are harsh. I already told you that my first paper was revised thrice before the final publication. So if you get reviews, feel blessed and review the paper on the guidelines of the comments. I still remember we published a paper in cross-cultural and strategy management in 2015, and the first review that we received, it said that the construct you have used are well established. Then why the items from your questionnaires were deleted? Your sample size is small. Get more sample and then revert back. So we went to the field again, collected more data, and really it improved. So be patient, think again and again, because reviewers do a lot to read your papers and recommend. They are not paid for that. So I always say heartfelt thanks to the reviewers who help you a lot. So feel fortunate, feel lucky if you get a reviewer comment, even if it is negative or positive. They are better than being rejected. Be patient and handle the comment one by one. Whatever changes you make on the basis of the comments, highlight those in your paper. Mention the page number when you submit the revised paper. Make table of the reviewer query and how it has been addressed in the paper. It will be very easy for the reviewer and the editor to see whether you have addressed the queries of the editors or not. Sorry. So addressing section is very important, whether it is first revision or second revision. Be patient, take your time, work upon it, and make a tabular answer to the queries and then resubmit. Next section, please. Next slide. Oh, celebrations. This is the best part in this. They say that Robert Days said the goal of scientific research is publication. A scientific experiment, no matter how spectacular the result, it is not complete until it is published. So when it is published, you just relax and enjoy the moment. I hope I have been able to delve upon in detail that what steps you need to undertake to publish in a good journal and how to write a good quality-based paper so that, and you will get the recognition for publishing also in the form of citations you receive. Get yourself, register yourself on Google Scholar. It will update you on daily basis that how many citations your paper has received. I think when I get up in the morning and I go in front of the God, the first thing I say, see that have my publication received some more citations. There is no better credit for a researcher than getting cited by all types of people in the around the world. So just enjoy, celebrate once it gets published. Thank you. Are there any questions? Please. Sanjay sir, do I have to talk about the issues of?
Next slide, madam, please. I just share this slide.
I don't know why, but if they are not visible. Are the slides visible to everyone now? The third slide?
No, madam, it's not visible.
Just 1 minute, please.
No, ma'am.
They are just loading it.
No, ma'am, it's not visible.
Madam, now it's visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, I'll start now with the third section.
Yes, please start.
That is based upon the research fundings. Issues in making research proposal to various funding agencies. Before taking up the issues, please have a look at the slides. That which are the funding agencies? In India, for the social sciences, majority of us, there are so many fundings, but majority of the agencies are into the sciences. For the social sciences, we have the University Grant Commission, Indian Council for Social Science Research, funding schemes of Environment and Forests, Government of India, and Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Next slide. So this list is very long. It pertains to international funding agencies. So if you are interested into submitting a proposal at the international level, you can select the relevant agencies, and these are available online. Just go to the Google, type the research proposal funding agencies, and all these agencies will be there on the Google. There are certain federal agencies also. Among the federal agencies, which is very common, is the Association of Commonwealth Universities. And 4 types of grants are given by project proposals are there under this. Then we have the Fulbright Commission, Ford Foundation, Inspire, UKRI, and Civil Society. Now, before going to the issues or the errors, I would like to discuss with you, there are certain agencies which want a collaborative project. For example, UKRI. UKRI is a collaborative project of UK and India. It requires that researchers on the both sides, both countries, they collaborate and submit their proposal to their respective authorities. If you want to get a project from the UKRI, and the amount of grant is very huge. It is in multiple crores. And you can even establish your own labs under the funding. You can organize international conferences, seminars, the funding given by UKRI. Beside UKRI, there is at present one called Open at ICSSR. It is the collaborative project grant between India and Japan. So whosoever is interested, please, at present it is going on because the date have been extended by ICSSR. So it is available on the site of the Indian Council for Social Science Research. Now I shall be discussing with you the errors, common errors in proposal. And the first amongst them is does not fit agency's mission. For example, last year, ICSSR published a proposal call under the IMPRESS scheme of MHRD. This is Impactful Policy Research Proposals. And it had highlighted near about 11 domains and more than 100 plus subdomains. So whenever you are writing a proposal, please look up at the domain in which the agency is asking for the proposal. And IMPRESS scheme is focusing upon mostly to the economics. And I went there with a proposal of revisiting the women entrepreneurship for the inclusive growth. So I have to fit in with the agency's mission. That was the first thing I addressed, that my proposal fits in with the IMPRESS scheme's mission. Then if you violate one or more agency guidelines, because all agency, ICSSR, UGC, all have the guidelines for the submission. So if you violate any of the guideline, your paper proposal will be rejected. So make sure that you address all the guidelines. Then you write a proposal which is beyond the capability. So don't propose too much, because we have a time constraint and we have the money constraint. Then lack of proofreading, ill grammar, mathematic error. These are very common. Then we submit the paper with the missing pages. Figures are not there, tables are not there, signatures are not there. Then the organization of the proposal is very poor. We don't ask for the people. Plus, it does not have any impact. Means the results are not published. Next slide. Next slide, please. It talks about that your proposal may be returned without review if you ignore the do's and don'ts, which I have talked in the last slide about the guidelines. You have some unauthorized attachment. All the papers talk about don't mention your affiliation or name in any part of the paper. So you have to be very clear, because proposals are also sent for the review. So those are called the, you don't have to add any unauthorized attachment. And if you don't follow the instructions, your proposal may be returned without the review. Next slide. Now, the common problems we face when trying to write a proposal for getting the research funding. First is the confused about the format. We don't know whether we are required to write the intro part with the relevance or the purpose. We don't know how to write, how to lay down. We have the planning problems. Because whenever you are submitting a paper, you have to plan your schedules. You must have the time to address the research proposal. You have to submit it. And third is beautiful, that is a fear of proposal rejection. 50% of us do not submit the proposal. Agar reject ho gaya to kya karenge? And next is the tight deadlines, because these proposals, they have a limited window. And if you miss that limited window, you are unable to submit the proposal, because nowadays all proposals are sent online. Another issue we feel that we don't come to know that the window of the proposal has opened. That is called the inadequate publicity or the advertisement. But good agencies, funding agencies, do advertise their windows for the proposal submission near about 3 months ahead. So if the research, you have to be very particular about it, that when does the window for that opens. For example, ICSSR opens the window for the major proposals, major research project proposals in the month of, I think, March, April, and then in August, September. So just go on their sites and check, and they write down when the window will open. Then lack of knowledge about the funding. More than 50% of us, we do not know that how to secure the funds, how to get the funds. We don't get into it. We will have to learn how to get the funds or how to use the funds. And last but not the least, I think it's in our context, politics in selection of the research proposals. We people push hard, not in on the basis of the quality. We push hard on the basis of the networking. I think which is very unethical. All of us should learn, because we are from the knowledge domain. We belong to a knowledge industry. We should get funding on the basis of our knowledge, not on the basis of the networking. I think these are some of the issues I have tried my best to address. But if you have any issue, you can just reach me at jyotigupta64@rediffmail.com. I will help you in writing of the proposal and address your queries as much as is possible. Thank you.
Ma'am, please repeat your email address, please.
My email address is JYOTIGUPTA jyotigupta64@rediffmail.com. You can write me anytime. You can WhatsApp
Thank
me.
you very much, ma'am.
My number is
Thanks.
94691700900. You can message me. I'll definitely respond. Thank
Ma'am,
you.
repeat the number, please. Ma'am, repeat the number, please.
Sudha has written my email ID. That is the correct. My phone number is 94691700900.
Thank you, ma'am.
Questions? Yeah, Sudha, it is right. I hope I have been able to address your queries, and you might have enjoyed the session.
Thank you.
From Rishabh. It has gone away. Rishabh, just a minute, I'll check into it. Chat section is not appearing with me. Rishabh, can you flash your query again? There was certain query about the InterScience journal. Sanjay sir,
Discussion was good one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Dr. Jyoti has very minutely explained the concept of report writing and its various steps. Writing of report is the last steps in a research study and require a set of skills. This task should be accomplished by the researcher with the utmost care, because it always said that if all well, that end well. A good report is one which is drafted in a simple and clear language. Report writing helps as a path to solve problem. Writing a report guides us in a way to modernize details about the improvement and upcoming plans. In her second session, all the section, Dr. Jyoti discussed about the very important part of the research, which is the paper writing. She has very well explained how to write a paper and how to publish it. Thank you, madam. Your lecture is very thoughtful, provoking. In my knowledge, all the participant is the benefited in your this lecture. I request Dr. Sandeep for vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sinas. It is such a wonderful, meaningful,
Thank you, ma'am.
मैम
very
प्लीज एक
useful
क्वेश्चन
and
और है
fantastic.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Given by
मैम ज्योति मैम प्लीज एक क्वेश्चन और है
Yeah, please.
Department of Commerce. Yes,
मैम
please.
एक दो
G.
Yes, please. Okay. It is such a wonderful, meaningful, very useful and fantastic lecture given by our resource person, Dr. Jeevan Jyoti, Department of Commerce, Jammu University, Jammu, on such a difficult topic like report writing, issue in making research proposal to various funding agency, and quality of paper publication is defined in a very simple language. Ma'am, thank you very much from a bottom of heart. We also very thankful to the person who is behind the workshop. He is our workshop director, Professor S.K. Sinha, and all my team members, Dr. Mukesh, Dr. Rachna Srivastava, and Dr. Anil. I am also very thankful to the all participants who are inside and outside of the university. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Once again, madam, thank you very much on the behalf of Faculty of Commerce Management, Chaudhry Ranveer Singh University, Jind. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello.
हेलो यस
Hello.
यस
सर मॉर्निंग सेशन की मैं भर नहीं पाई थी, नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम आ रही थी. सर
Morning
प्लीज सेंड
session.
मी फ्रॉम अ शीट.
ओके
सर प्लीज आई एम वेटिंग.
ओके ओके अटेंडेंस चाहिए आपको
Send the sort.
ओके 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 प्लीज वेट
Morning session attendance sheet and feedback form, please.
ओके 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 प्लीज वेट जस्ट अ मिनट attendance and feedback morning
Sir, tomorrow's timing?
11 a.m.
Okay, sir. Okay.
जी please Sainaj wait just a minute.